My name is Hannah, and this is my no-buy year. Okay, hi, September check-in. As you all know, this is my no-buy year. I'm not buying any makeup, skincare, clothing, or homewares this year. And at the end of every month, I film a check-in video, which is basically just me sitting down and chatting with you about how things have been going in the world of my no-buy during the preceding month. So this is a check-in about September, and I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the best month. Partly in my life, but also partly in the no-buy, and it turns out that those things are totally intertwined. I didn't break my no-buy, so don't worry about that at all. It's not happening, it's not gonna happen. But this was actually a more challenging month in some ways than some of the previous months have been, which is interesting because I feel like up until now, the trend has been unequivocally up. Anyway, it's not all bad. I have some rocky business to report, and then I have some good things to report. So I'm gonna do the rocky first and the good second. So not to be alarmist, because it's really not all that bad, but I do need to confess that September was kind of a rough month. And it was just like a rough month in terms of my emotional well-being. And I've been thinking about it, and I don't think that it's due to any one thing in particular. It's not specific to my no-buy or to not buying stuff, because the ways in which I've been feeling emotionally challenged or mentally kind of less put together haven't had to do with shopping, but then those feelings have interacted with shopping behaviors in an interesting way. So the feelings themselves have just been my same old crap that comes up when I'm not doing the best. So it's stuff like worrying about my writing career, worrying about my writing, body issues, feeling bad about my body, feeling bad about what I'm eating, then not eating that great, worrying about my future, worrying about my life goals, worrying about my dreams being unattainable. It's just regular stuff. Like, we all deal with it, and it's my same demons that come back to haunt me over and over again. Without getting too specific, partly because I don't really feel like hashing it all out right now, and partly because it probably wouldn't be the most interesting, but you can imagine, right? Like, I have downward negative spirals of thought the same way we all do. It's just the ones that I have are specific to me. And I feel like the demons are always there, but I'm usually winning the fight against them. So most of the time, not the vast majority of the time, but I would say for me, most of the time, the little voice comes in the back of my head like, you're not really a good enough writer to be successful in the field of writing. And then I'll be like, yes, I am. I'm working really hard. And I'll banish that thought, and I'll march down to my coffee shop, and I'll sit my butt down, and I'll do my writing work, and I'll submit to a bunch of publications, and I'll feel like no matter what, I'm fighting the good fight. I'm showing up for myself, and I'm doing what I need to do to at least give myself the best chance possible at being successful, and then my life goes on. Again, that's not all the time, but I do feel like that's most of the time, and I am looking forward to answering the questions in my Q&A about my work routine and my work schedule, because I think that that's actually intertwined. Productivity and mental health and the way that I handle these demons are kind of all intertwined with scheduling in a weird way. I'll talk about it. But sometimes I like lose the fight just a little bit, and I start to slip back, and then I'll have like a bad couple of days, and then I'll kind of come back. I'll start taking my vitamins again. I'll start eating really well again. I'll start getting my butt in the chair again, and I'll stop fretting so much, and then I'll kind of be back. That's what life is always like. It's always this kind of little up and down, up and down. But sometimes I lose purchase, and then I lose a little more and a little more, and then before I know it, a down has gone far, far down. And then once I'm down, it's a lot harder to get back up. And again, like, I don't want to frame this in terms of like, I'm a person who has anxiety, or I'm a person who has depression, because I'm not really. I think I'm just a normal person. And this is just the way that life goes for us. We have our ups and downs, and sometimes a down just keeps going down, and we have a rough month instead of a rough patch. And that's what happened for me in September. I struggled with my writing, I struggled with my health, I had some sleepless nights, I didn't exercise. I stopped doing all of the things that I know are the things that get me out of those down times. I know what they are. Like, for example, I stopped taking my vitamins, and one of the vitamins I take is vitamin D, and I think that vitamin D actually has a huge effect on my mood. Taking it every day really, really does help me. I know, because I've been doing it for years, and I've sometimes stopped taking it and then started taking it again. I know it makes a huge difference. And I would forget some days, but some days I would just kind of be like, I'd see them there, it would be the morning, I'd have the time, and I would just leave the house. It's a kind of useless, but in some ways sort of profound self-sabotage that I was doing. And I was doing it kind of on all fronts. Like meditation is another thing that really, it just takes 8 minutes. The meditation that I do takes 8 minutes. I could have done it every day this month and it would have transformed my experience of the month. I wouldn't be sitting here telling you that I had a rough month if I had just gotten it together to do that at the beginning of the month and to continue doing it all month. And I knew that, but I didn't do it. And then I felt bad because I hadn't been doing it. And so then I continued not to do it. And I continued to go more down and more down and more down. I'm sure you all have had this happen to you. And so I don't need to go on and on about it. I think it is helpful to talk about it out loud. And I do have help and I have support, and Joe is very supportive, and I have a lot of tools. And I also have a pretty good life even when I'm feeling bad. You know, like I'm a lucky person. If you look at the entire scope of everyone on this planet, I'm a lucky person. The other thing that's been going on, things have been just trash in the news this month in a way that is profoundly upsetting. I mean, the news has been trash for a couple of years now here in the United States of America, but particularly this week, I don't know, I'll be posting this probably on Sunday, so I'm filming on Friday. Dr. Ford's testimony to the Senate committee was yesterday, and then today was the day that the Senate committee voted to send Kavanaugh's nomination through to the Senate. So it's just, I tend to stay away from the news most of the time and just check in every once in a while to make sure that I'm keeping abreast of what's going on, because if I read it all the time, it would destroy me. So I don't usually do that. But the past couple of days I have been, like I've been watching CNN at work, and I've just been staying up to the minute informed with what's going on. And so that's also been kind of getting in amongst me. That's why it's kind of hard to say that I'm like completely out of the slump, because the past couple days have just been pretty profoundly troubling. But as I was saying, even when there are troubling things going on, even when I'm feeling particularly down, I still am flourishing as a human. So really, it's not that bad. So I don't want you guys to worry about me because I'm perfectly fine. If anything, just know that if you have bad months like this, or even if you've been having like a whole year like this, if you go through this, just know that you're not alone. We all go through this. And as put together as I might look on Instagram, or as chipper as I might seem in all my videos, I also am going through this. I'm also dealing with these kind of totally illogical days and weeks and sometimes months of self-sabotage and difficulty climbing out of these mental trenches. But there's always another side. Like, I'm coming through to the other side. It always ends, it always gets better, and I've been really working on remembering that lately, and that's been helping a lot. So the reason for bringing this up is that it has been really interesting to observe my behavior during this difficult month in the context of my no-buy year. So this was kind of the first chance to really observe through the lens of my no-buy year how profound of a link. I feel like I've said profound 3 times. I think that's the 3rd time I've said profound in this video. Please forgive me. But it's the best word for the job. In all 3 cases, it was the best word for the job. How profound of a link there is between depressed feelings and addictive behaviors. In this case, namely shopping behaviors. One of the exciting things that I've been able to report over the course of this year in my other check-ins has been how drastically my shopping behaviors have been reduced. And by shopping behaviors, I mean like reading reviews, going on the websites, putting things into my cart, thinking about what I might buy next year, price comparisons. You can spend a lot of time shopping without buying anything. And it's not my no shopping year, it's just my no buy year. So I'm still allowed to indulge in shopping behaviors. And I have done it a little bit throughout the year, but overall, my shopping behaviors have just waned and waned and waned and tapered off to almost nothing over the course of the year. And that's been really wonderful. It's freed up a lot of time and a lot of brain space for me. But this month, this month, it all came back. Not all the time, not too much, but there were just so many more nights where I was to be found tucked up in bed, trying to sleep, like blearily scrolling through the news section at Sephora, clicking through and reading descriptions, or like clicking through Trend Mood and looking close up at the swatches and just thinking about makeup and even putting stuff in my cart. Just a couple of days ago, I had the Natasha Denona mini star palette in my Sephora cart along with the Natasha Denona camel palette, I think it was, which I don't even want anymore, by the way, but I just put it in my cart anyway because I thought it would be a good complement to the star palette in the world of my fantasy cart. And a couple of other, just the new Bite Beauty Amuse-Bouche lipstick, the astrology one, which is like this yellowy brown color that is one of those lipstick colors that I really, really love. I had put that in my fantasy cart. I was like putting things in my cart to see how much they would cost. And I know I'm not going to buy them because it's my no buy year. And I'm very, very deeply resolved not to break my no buy. There was never like a thrill of fear or excitement that I might actually buy the things. That's not what was going on. It was just the comforting old behavior of shopping that I felt like was the only thing that I could do. And thank God for my no buy. And thank God that I have the grit that I have and that it's so deeply entrenched at this point that there isn't a danger. Because in a normal year, I could have spent a lot of money this month. Like this would have been that month where I got myself into big trouble. And it was just because I was feeling bad. So it was cool to be able to observe myself falling victim to my old patterns of behavior because I was having a rough time in other ways. Without buying anything because of the no buy, I was still able to see the whole scenario play out. That bid for the rush of dopamine that I get from clicking and clicking and looking, and that desperation that comes from not having the tools for health in place that I usually have. It was like all the balls had dropped. I didn't have anything. And so I didn't have my strength of character that I usually have, if that's what it can even be called. I didn't have my usual sense of efficacy. And though that sense of efficacy is put in place, the building blocks are like eating well, exercising, taking my vitamins, keeping to my routine, getting a good night's sleep, like doing my work, doing my writing work in a timely manner, feeling like I'm meditating. Like those are the building blocks that put my sense of efficacy in place. So I had dropped all of those balls. I had no sense of efficacy, and I therefore couldn't prevent myself from pushing that button and trying to get that temporary dopamine release. That is the thing that provides temporary relief. Usually, I have the patience and the kind of wholeness of spirit to resist that and to wait it out and to try to build serotonin, the long-lasting kind of happiness that comes with patience and care and self-care. Usually I have the patience for that, and especially this year with my no buy, I have become much less likely to slip into the pattern of triggering dopamine. But this month, it got me, that same old cycle. I'm starting to drift into what's the book? The Hacking of the American Mind, the Lustig book. I'm starting to kind of drift into that territory talking about dopamine and serotonin. I promise I'm going to film the book club review really soon. Hannah's book club is going to get off the ground. I still haven't filmed it, and it's just been because it hasn't just been a down month for me, it's been really busy. And I think that that busyness is part of why it's been hard for me, because I haven't had the time to just kind of step back and get my ducks back in a row and get my building blocks back in place. I have had to just work my pants off every single day of every single week this month. I haven't had a choice because of just the way that our schedule is unfolding for the fall with the business. And I've also had a lot of writing stuff going on. And I've also picked up some work on the side, some extra writing type work that has been filling a lot of my spare time. So things have been really, really messy, busy, and it's been hard to kind of flesh out my things that I'm filming because of that. So things like the book club, which are bonus videos that are less than urgent, have kept getting sloughed off to the side and sloughed off to the side, but I haven't forgotten, it's definitely coming. It's been 9 months now since I bought any makeup, except for the replacement brow gel, mascara, replacement brow gel. But you know, I haven't bought any color cosmetics, I haven't bought any new makeup. And 9 months, and profound changes in my brain that I've been noticing, and really, really a sense of freedom that I've had that you guys have seen me talk about over the past several months. A bad month came along and I was right back to my old behaviors. So it's informing a little bit my plan for next year. It's making me realize that it takes a lot longer to truly recover from these kinds of things than we think. I don't think that I'm ever going to get into a situation, I hope, after this year where I'll have another bad month like this one and it will cause me to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I think that I'm at the point where I'm so self-aware with regard to my shopping behavior that it won't get that bad. The more we know about our behaviors, the easier it is to catch ourselves in the act, pull ourselves up by our own lapels, give ourselves a little shake and say, Hannah, snap out of it. You can do better than this. And I think that that is right around the corner for me. Like, I'm about to get there. But in the meantime, I feel like knowing what this looks like for me, like knowing what a bad month looks like for me, will help me just take it in stride in the future instead of letting it completely knock me off my feet and, you know, get me back into debt or back into a really bad relationship with sugar or whatever it might be. So let's talk about the good things, because there are actually a number of good things to talk about. And the first one that I wanted to mention in light of all of the stuff that I just shared with you is that YouTube has been kind of a lifeline for me during this bad month. Like when I uploaded the video this week in which I requested questions for my Q&A and all of your questions came flooding in, I love them. I love the questions and I'm really excited to film that video, and that just really gave me a boost that really, really helped me have a good day because those questions were there. They kept popping up and I kept reading them and hearting them and just feeling like connected to you guys and excited about continuing to film and continuing to produce content. And getting the package from Tara, again, I've talked about this already, but that was a particularly tough week. And on the worst day of it, that package came from Tara and it was with a sweet note and it was so thoughtful and it just saved me from myself on that day and really for many days after that. All of your sweet comments, all of your support, and even some of the things that I'm doing for my channel. So for example, I decluttered my lipsticks and I also filmed my lip gloss declutter. That's coming up soon. It's pretty short because I don't have that many lip glosses and balms. But I was having kind of a rough day that day, but I had to do it. I dragged myself up, I did it, and then filming it caused me to force myself to declutter. And that lifted my spirits immeasurably because I felt so good afterwards. And now my lipsticks are here and there's a place for each one and each one's in its place. And I've been using different lipsticks more frequently and it sort of like cleared a little breathing room in my life. That was as a result of my YouTube channel. That's not to say that I wouldn't have decluttered my lipsticks at some point if I didn't have a channel, but I definitely wouldn't have done it that week because I was feeling like trash that week. And I wasn't able, in normal times, I wouldn't have been able to do any of the things that would have buoyed me up, like decluttering my lipsticks, for example. But because of the channel, I did it and it helped. So I just thank you. Like, thank you all for being there. Tara, thank you again. And thank you for all of your questions. And I just want you to know that this has actually been the least stressful part of my month. And it's been an island of lightness and energy this month. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm profoundly grateful for that. All right, two last little things to mention that do have to do kind of more with my no buy and with buying things. One is that I paid off my credit card this month, finally. And I haven't really been talking about that this year, but I did enter the year with a bit of credit card debt. I don't really want to get into like all of the nitty-gritty of my exact personal finances and like graphing it all out and all of that stuff. That's not that interesting, but needless to say, I don't have very much extra money, and it's because Joe and I brought this business to LA, and the business is having to reinvest pretty much everything that it can back into itself in order to stay afloat. And the business is my main source of income. The business pays us enough to pay our bills, like our rent and stuff, and then on top of that, enough for food. And we decide how much the business pays us because we run the business. We are the business. It's just the three of us, the business, Joe, and me, and Sadie, I guess, just the four of us. So we could be choosing to have the business pay us more, and then I would have more extra money. But we don't, because we want all of the business's profits to go back into the business so that we can continue to flourish here in LA. So that just means that during this first year or two of being here, really, it's austerity, extreme austerity. And that's how I got myself into credit card debt at the beginning of the year. I had over $1,000 of credit card debt. It's not a huge amount, but when you only have a tiny, tiny bit of extra money every month, it's really hard to pay that off. So I actually paid it off with extra income, money that I've made from my writing, from my tango teaching, and most recently from this second job that I picked up, because I wasn't making enough money from my business to pay that off. So I've been whittling away at it all year, and this is the month that I finally got one check that was big enough for me to just knock out the entire rest of that debt. So without getting too specific about it, that's why it was a struggle, and that's why I'm really proud that I actually did it. And I also should mention, for the sake of all of you who are following along, because you have similar issues to the ones that I entered this year with and still have to some degree, I also accrued credit card debt this year. And it's been an up and down. So even though it's my no buy year, it's been an up and down in terms of my credit card debt. And here's why that happened. I did really well towards the beginning of the year at paying it off. And actually, just maybe 4 or 5 months into the year, I did pay almost all of it off. So it's not like it's just been a couple $100s every month until I finally paid it off. I actually could have paid it off in full much earlier in the year. But what happened was I kept my credit card number in all of my online shopping platforms. And I just did that idiotic mental trick of just thinking that a little bit here and a little bit there, that I would just use my credit card and it's okay, I'll pay it off next month, without really thinking and keeping track and paying attention to how much I was putting on there. You know, birthday presents for my cousins. And I was like, oh, do you just like $80 at Sephora? I'll just put it on my credit card and that'll make this month a little easier, but I'll definitely pay it off right away as soon as I get like X check next month, or as soon as I get X next month, right? Some matcha tea from Amazon, like just $30. I'll just put it on my credit card this time, just this time. And then, you know, I'm going to get a check in 2 weeks and then I'll just immediately pay that all off. So I kept doing that. And I was like, I'm doing so well already. I've paid off so many hundreds of dollars already. Like I'm totally ahead of the game, right? But I wasn't. I wasn't. And what happened was I almost paid it all the way off, and then I accrued more debt again, like a couple $100s or even several $100s more. And it didn't actually start to permanently go down, my debt, until I took my credit card number out of all of my online platforms. I always told myself it was just for emergencies, and then I was constantly using it out of convenience. And I was just not ever able to get ahead of that until I made it so that it would be inconvenient. I made it so that it would be inconvenient to use it, that I would have to re-enter all of the numbers and all of that stuff. So that was the ticket to success. I'm kind of embarrassed that it's September and it's only now that I'm talking about this, but it was embarrassing. It was a way in which I was like failing, even as I was succeeding in my no-buy, because obviously all of the things that I was putting on that credit card are things that are sanctioned within my no-buy, like things that I was allowed to buy inside of my rules. It was like just replacements, gifts, food. So I wasn't overspending in the old way. It's just that I was making the idiotic choice to put a variety of purchases onto my credit card instead of buying them with my actual money. If you've been meaning to take your credit card numbers out of all of your online shopping platform places, if you've been meaning to do it for months or years and you still haven't gotten around to it, just do it tonight. Just do it now. Can you tell I'm not the best with money? Can you tell I'm having a bad month? I'm getting there. I'm learning about this stuff. Again, it's something I'm thinking about for next year. And I think next year there will be a little bit more accountability in certain ways. A little more number crunching in my future. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is that my sense of value is really changing, if not indelibly changed. And I've talked about this in previous check-ins a little bit, but this month I think I noticed it even more than I have been noticing it. And when I say my sense of value, I mean like what I'm willing to spend on things like makeup and skincare, and how much of that stuff I think is a good idea to invest in and to own. And the thing that really, really got me this month is that I ran out of hydrating toners, finally. And I've been saying for months that the one that I had a deluxe sample size of the Belief Hungarian Water Essence. That was one of the hydrating toners that I started the year with. And I loved that product. I loved it. I love it. And so I was always saying, I'm still working on my hydrating toners, but when I run out of all of them and I'm ready to replace that category, I'm going to buy the Belief Hungarian Water Essence. It's the best one. I really love it. I'm definitely going to get that. And at the beginning of the year, there was no doubt in my mind. I was like, that's going to be the one. So I went into Sephora and I clicked through to it and it's $42. And I was like, girl, no. $42 for a hydrating essence. And I knew it was $42 at the beginning of the year when I said that I was going to buy it. And I didn't even think twice. In fact, I vaguely remember thinking that it was a pretty good price for a skincare product because it was less than $50. There was no way that I was going to buy that thing. I was shocked that I had previously planned to spend $42 on one of those front-end skincare products. I'm always talking about how the front end and the back end are the ones where you can spend the least, and then the middle of the skincare routine is where you want to invest. The hydrating essence is nothing if not a front end product, right? So that's one where you want to cut costs. And so I got a less expensive one. If you want to find out what it is, stay tuned for my empties video because I'll talk about it in that. But it's amazing and I love it and I'm doing really well with it. The thing that's remarkable, the thing that I wanted to talk about in this check-in is that my perspective about value has changed so much. And the way that my jaw hit the floor when I opened the page with that product on it and I saw that price, that is something to celebrate. That's something for me to celebrate. I'm really glad that I have my head screwed on a little straighter now when it comes to what's luxury and what's not, what's expensive for me and what's not. I'm smarter about what I genuinely should be buying. That combined with the fact that I'm no longer putting that kind of thing onto my credit card and the fact that I was able to pay off my credit card, I just feel like I'm making palpable progress this month in terms of my finances and the way that my finances interact with my beauty habit and my habit of self-care and the way that I take care of myself. I think that the first thing I had to do was to bring my shopping habit to a dramatic halt and then spend 9 months experiencing the fallout of that, and just like forced starvation from that habit. And now that that fallout is kind of all starting to come clear, I'm starting to like look at my bank account and look at my savings and look at my income and think about my future and move stuff around. And that's something that I kind of always felt not like I couldn't do before, but to be honest, I was afraid to do it before, because in my heart of hearts, I knew that I was overspending unwisely on a bunch of stuff that I didn't need. And if I were to go into my personal finances and take charge and start planning, then the ugly truth would be revealed, which is that I would have to look at the actual numbers of how much I was spending on makeup and skincare. And I also didn't want to stop spending because it was a crutch that I was using to deal with other stuff in my life. So there was a lot of fear and discomfort surrounding even the thought of my bank account, my savings account, the thought of my financial future. I just kept pushing it away and pushing it away because it was otherwise occupied. It was occupied with feeding my unhealthy habit. So now that the unhealthy habit is being dealt with, I feel like I am starting to have the potential to be someone who has a good handle on her finances. So I'm not going to turn this whole channel into like a financial health channel, but I might talk about it a little bit more from time to time. And again, it will probably be part of the project next year. Even though this video started out kind of grim, I think that the last thing I have to say is that the no buy it keeps delivering. It keeps delivering. And even though some other things have been difficult this month, I'm in a good place with my no buy. I'm in a good place with you guys and with YouTube. And as ever, I continue to be grateful for what I have. That is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll remember to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.